So the next question, as you've spoken about sort of the editing a little bit, but how does the editing process work for you, or how do you edit? So like when I edit, I sort of read through and then I go through having picked out specific scenes, but some people do it as they go along,
Hmm.
or does it shift between books?
Yeah, editing, that one's hard because everyone does things differently and it changes over time. I found with Lichgates, it was go through once, write everything, don't stop, and then go through 5 billion times trying to make it right. So that didn't work for me. Treason was I wrote my first draft, edited that about 2 or 3 times, just going through in line after I'd finished, and then giving it to editors and doing the back and forth there. Um, but with three and Heritage, I think this is my groove. Um, usually, I don't like it when anyone reads my first draft because it doesn't matter who you are, your first draft is going to suck. Um, but Jeff insisted, my husband, he insisted he read it this time, chapter by chapter, because he knows the entire plot of the entire series. So he knows what I'm trying to do. And so he's been reading it as he goes through, and he keeps catching plot holes to where if I'd continued to write, it would have created this massive rewrite for me later. And he caught it before it was a problem.
Mm.
So if you have that one person who you write for who can actually go through and edit it as you are writing the book, I think it's really helpful because they can help you catch errors before it becomes a problem. So that's become my new system, and I think I'm going to keep it. I really like it.
That sounds like something I could use actually, as I sort of
Yeah,
get to the end of it, having essentially written in plot holes and then made them wider as I go along because I haven't realized.
exactly. So if you use that, let me know. See how it works for you.
Hmm.
Okay, and I don't remember. You are traditionally published.
Actually, I'm indie. I was originally indie, and then I went traditional with Immortal Ink Publishing.
Uh huh.
And through a series of very strange events, but everyone's okay with them, I'm now published under Caffeinated Books Publishing. That happened a couple weeks ago. That's really recently. Um,
All right.
so it's just kind of been a plodding along, going with whatever happens.
All right. I was gonna ask, how many different places did you submit to, were rejected from before you finally got here?
Actually, I did not apply anywhere.
Really?
Yep. I'm probably one of the only authors who didn't go through a series of rejection before giving up and going indie. Um, but I've actually done a lot of research, and I went a little neurotic going through all this research, but I really think self-publishing is a gift to writers. I think that it gives you control over your work. It empowers you to feel like you actually know what you're doing, and it lets you make a living off of your writing, which is not a common thing. um, but it's hard. You become the manager of everything. You're the business manager, you're the accountant, you're the marketer, you're the PR specialist, you're the designer. You better never be your own editor. I don't care. You always have to have an editor. Um, and it's luckily becoming easier for indies because you have independent publishers who are now giving you half of your rights if you want to go that way, and still give you leeway to have input into your cover. Or if you do go by yourself, there are a lot of vendors who make it easier. So they're cover artists who can do a cover for $200, that kind of thing, and they're good quality. So it's definitely becoming easier to go indie. Did I answer your question? I feel like I rambled there.
And that's all right.
I do that a lot.
That's okay.
It's all right because you've almost started answering my question, so it's all good.
Okay, awesome.
Um,
Then that was entirely intentional.
yeah, it's designed that way.
Right, yeah.
Um, I guess I wanted to ask sort of how have you found working with publish professionals such as like the publishers, and I don't know if you had an agent or whether obviously you just answered that a little bit, but how have you found working with these professionals?
Wonderful. I actually don't run into a lot of unprofessional people in the author world, whether it's traditional or indie. Um, Everyone seems to really have a cool level head. There, I think the biggest lesson with that actually, is there seem to be two different perspectives, at least between authors, and it doesn't seem to matter whether they're traditional or indie. But there are some people who expect you to do a favor for a favor. For instance, if they review your book, they expect you to review their book almost instantly, almost immediately after they do yours. And I'm not of that camp. I'm very much of, if I like you, I'm going to support you no matter what, whether you review my stuff or not. And when there's a miscommunication between those two camps, it can actually blow up in your face. That happened to me once. I lost a pretty good friend from just a big miscommunication. So I guess for that, just always make sure you communicate your expectations very clearly, no matter if it's indie or traditional. Just make sure that you're not assuming anything.
Right.